Alright, so today we're just going to be talking about functions and the different ways we can put multiple functions together through just algebra, composing functions, and then we'll talk about the difference quotient, which is something that is very, very important in calculus. Alright, so let's get started. We're just going to talk about algebra on functions, so we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions. Alright, so here are the two functions we're working with. F of x is x plus 3, and g of x is x squared, and we just want to find the following algebraic operations on these functions. So here's addition, f plus g of 2. So what this means is we're adding these two functions, and we're plugging 2 in. So this is exactly the same as f of 2 plus g of 2, which we know how to find. We're just plugging 2 into each one of these functions and then adding that value together, or those values together. So here's f of 2, 2 plus 3, and then g of 2 is 2 squared, so we get 9. Okay, and so for all of these algebra operations, they work the same, so you can break this apart and then just do the pieces separately. All right, so f minus g of 7 is f of 7 minus g of 7. So we're going to do the same thing, plug 7 into f, subtract, and plug 7 into g. (10 minus 49), so that's negative 39. Feel free to pause this if I am going a little too fast. F times g of 5, same thing. We just take f of 5 and we multiply it by g of 5. So we're plugging 5 into f. Take that answer and multiply it by plugging 5 into g. All right, so I got 200 here. All right, and finally, excuse me, division works the same way. We're going to do f of 4 divided by g of 4. Okay, so plugging in 4 into f, and then plugging in 4 into g. 7 over 16. Okay, so all of these are pretty straightforward, but I do have to point something out with D. Could there possibly ever be any issues with dividing two functions? Could anything go wrong here? What if g of 4 was 0? Then we'd be dividing by 0 and it would be undefined. All right, so I'll put a little note here. You only get an answer if g of 4 does not equal 0. Otherwise, it's undefined. So again, we always want to keep the domain in mind. What issues do we have? What could go wrong? And with fractions, we know something can go wrong if we divide by 0. Okay, so now let's talk about something a little more complicated than just the algebra. Let's talk about function composition. So that's putting one function inside of another. We're composing them. So you'll see them look like this, kind of looks like fog or goth. This little circle just means function composition. So instead of just putting x into a function, you're putting x into g, but then you're putting g into f. Or we could flip it around. And note, These two do not always give the same answer. Spoiler alert, if they do give the same answer, our two functions were inverses, which we'll learn later in class. Okay, so let's use this and answer these questions. So it says find the following values for the functions. F is x plus 3, g is x squared, same two functions that we had before. But here we actually cannot break this apart like we did last time. We actually start from the inside and go out. So the first thing we want to do is find g of 4. So I'm going to bring my f down, and inside of f, I want to put g of 4, which was 4 squared. So now I need to find f of 16. And so we can do that by plugging 16 into f. All right, so we're going from the inside out. So we found g of 4, and then we found whatever that answer was, f of that. All right, let's do it again, opposite. So this time we're doing g of f of 4. So we need to find what f of 4 is, and we're just bringing that g down. All right, so here's our f. So f of 4 is 4 plus 3. So that means we need to find g of 7. All right, so take a look at this, make sure you understand what's happening.